Are you a first-time medical device founder, an engineer with a breakthrough idea, or a medtech innovator trying to navigate the maze of bringing your product to market? Well, then this video is for you. By the end of it, you'll have a crystal clear roadmap for turning your idea into a market-ready medical device. Actionable steps only. Now, who the f*** am I and why you should listen to me? I'm Lisa Varenko and I've spent the last 12 years developing, scaling and launching medical devices that solve real-world problems. My team and I have worked on wearable tech, orthopedic devices, medical equipment, etc., etc. And I've seen every mistake you could make and also how to avoid them. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to refine your process, I'm here to make sure you don't waste your time or money. Okay, let's start with the first step. And first step is defining the problem and also validating the need. Because without this, your entire project could collapse before it even begins. And also, it's very important. You can't just guess what people need. You have to know. And that means talking directly to the people who will use, recommend, or pay for your device. Can be doctors, nurses, patients. So they are the ones who can tell you what's missing in their workflow, what's missing in their care. Now, shut up and listen. Don't pitch your idea. Instead, try to ask questions. What's the most frustrating part of your day? Or what tools do you wish you had? These conversations would be extremely useful for you. Talking isn't enough. You also need to analyze the market. Who else is out there solving the same problem? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And most importantly, who is paying for these devices now? How they're paying for these devices? What may help you is tools like PubMed, also market reports. They would help you out. And from there, write a problem statement that hits hard. For example, there is a 20% error rate in XYZ procedures, costing X billion annually. This is not only focus your efforts, but also shows investors and partners why your device matters. Now let's get into the part most people overlook. Understanding buyers and payers. Because in medtech space, the person using your device isn't always the one buying it. Hospitals, clinics, they care about saving time and improving patient outcomes. And then insurance companies, they need proof that your device would reduce the cost. If you're targeting patients who are paying out of pocket, then you should show them value and affordability. So each group has different needs and you need to address all of them, ideally. Here's the kicker. If you really want to win, get key opinion leaders, champions on your side. These are the experts people trust. Doctors, researchers, sometimes administrators from the hospital. If they back your device, you'll open doors you didn't even know existed. Okay, it was a first step. Stick with me and I'll guide you through every step of this process. By the end, you'll not only have a clear path to market, but also the confidence to execute it. After figuring out the problem your device solves and making sure people actually need it, the next step would be to start turning your idea into something real. This is called concept development and feasibility testing. And that's where you figure out if your idea can really work. So you have to create a proof of concept at this stage. Start by sketching out your ideas and don't worry at this point of time about making it perfect. Just get it on paper or use a computer program. If you're new to this, try something simple like Tinkercad if you're acting by yourself. If you need more advanced tools, you can use SolidWorks. The point here is to create a rough design or a 3D model so you can see what the device might look like. And once you have a basic design, think about the most important features. So ask yourself, what does the device absolutely need to do? What will make it easier for people to use? To answer these questions, go back to the people who will use your device from previous step. Talk to them or do surveys to find out what's most important to them. And this will help you focus on what really matters. Next, you have to build something called proof of concept, or POC. This is basically a simple prototype, basic version of your device that shows it can work, that is physically possible. Here you can use quick and affordable methods like 3D printing to build it. Now, don't stress if it looks ugly. This isn't the final product yet. It's just for testing the main idea in a control setting to see if it works as planned. Then you'll need to check if your idea is feasible. This means asking 3 big questions. Can it be built with the technology we have? Will it do what it's supposed to do for patients or users? And can it be made at a price people can afford? For example, you might test your prototype in a lab or run simulations to make sure your idea works. Write down everything you learn, document everything so you don't forget anything important. And finally, think about risks. What potentially could go wrong with your device? For example, maybe a material you want to use doesn't hold up in certain conditions. Write down those risks and make a plan for how to fix or avoid them in the future. This all will be important not only for you, but also to show investors and regulators that you've thought about potential risks, you consider some potential problems, and also you may know how to solve them. This entire process is about testing, learning, and improving. And it's okay if you might need to go back and make changes to your design multiple times. That's fine, because the better you prepare at this stage, the easier the rest of the process will be. Let's talk about regulatory strategy. This is all about understanding the rules you need to follow to get your device approved for use. It might sound complicated, but breaking it down step by step makes it easier. First, you should figure out what is your device classification. If we are talking about the US market, there are 3 categories. Class 1, like low-risk devices, like tongue depressors. Then goes Class 2, moderate-risk devices like powered wheelchairs. And Class 3, high-risk devices like pacemakers. Basically anything that goes inside your body. If you're targeting Europe, you'll follow similar categories under the EU MDR rules. Next, you have to learn about the key standards you need to meet. For example, ISO 13485. It's all about having a strong quality management system. It basically makes sure that your manufacturing and design processes meet all the international standards. IEC 6061 if your device have electronic components, so it makes sure it's electrically safe, basically. These standards are basic rules, and they're there to make sure your device is safe and effective. Once you know the requirements, it's time to create a regulatory pathway. In the US, it depends on your device. If your device is similar to something that is already approved, you might file a so-called 510K. If it's something new and different, you might go through de novo process when you don't have any comparison. And for high-risk devices, you'll need a PMA. It's a pre-market approval. This involves a lot of testing, a lot of documentation. Now, if you're talking about Europe, you'll aim for CE marking, which means showing that your device meets all safety and performance standards. To do this, you'll create a technical file with all the details about your device and then submit it. Now let's talk about clinical trials. If you need to run one, plan it carefully. Decide what you're testing, like whether the device is safe, effective, or both. Set some clear goals, define how many people will participate, and then track everything. Make sure your trial meets the expectations of regulators so it doesn't cause delays later. Sometimes I would offer to hire a regulatory consultant early in the process because they can guide you through the tricky parts, like preparing documents, following standards, designing trials. Well, yes, they are expensive, but often they can save you time and prevent expensive mistakes. You can also do this by yourself and read everything on the website. So by following the steps and staying organized, you'll be ready to navigate the regulatory process and get your device approved. Once again, if you're targeting US market, you can go to FDA website and read everything there. let's talk about detailed design and engineering. This is the part where your idea starts becoming a real product. Now, I do this every day, so it's all about planning every little detail and making sure everything is documented. Let me try to break it down step by step. First, you need to make your design specifications. This means deciding on every detail about your device. What materials will you use? What would be the exact size of the device? How the device will work? And even what it looks like to the user. So every small decision matters, because if something isn't clear or consistent, it could cause big problems later. And by big problems, I mean losing time or money. To keep track of all these details, you'll create something called the design history file. In simple words, it's like a diary for your device. So it shows every design choice, why you made it, how you tested it. It's also important for following the rules that regulators require. And okay, once your design is set, you start building prototypes. Think of this as early versions of your product. Again, as a proof of concept, the first prototypes might be rough and simple, but they are already great for testing the basic idea. And as you go, you'll make more advanced prototypes that look and work closer and closer to final version of your product. And again, to create this, you can use tools like 3D printing, CNC machining, and sometimes injection molding for a smaller batch. So these advanced prototypes let you test how your device performs under real conditions, how people actually use it. Next, you need to do something called design verification. This is where you check to make sure the device you built matches all the specifications you planned earlier. For example, you might use tools like finite element analysis to see how your device handles stress, like the pressure, or sometimes like being dropped or exposed to heat. You can also do physical tests, like dropping it or exposing to extreme temperatures, just to make sure it's strong enough and it's reliable enough. Now, at this stage, getting feedback is super important. So what you may want to do is to show your prototypes to key people like engineers, but also doctors, future users of your device, and ask them, what do you think works, what doesn't, what could be better? Don't be defensive. Use their advice to improve your design. The more feedback you get, the better your device would be. Here is a tip: use modular designs where you can. That means that part of your device can be changed or updated without having to redesign the entire thing. For example, if you need to improve one component, you can swap it out without redesigning the entire thing, without starting over, because this approach typically saves a lot of time and money later on. This stage of design and engineering is all about being precise and improving as you go. The more work and, again, the more documentation you do here, the fewer problems you'll face when it's time to manufacture your device. So, no rush. Take your time. Test everything. Keep refining your design. Let's talk about risk management. This might sound complicated, but it's really about making sure your device is safe, it works the way it's supposed to. And it's not just something you do because the rules say so. It's what keeps patients safe and also builds trust in your product. So first you start with something called failure modes and effects analysis. Failure modes and effects analysis. Think of this as looking at every possible way your device could fail and figuring out how serious each problem could be. For example, could a software glitch cause the device to stop working? Could a part of the device break during the use? Then what you do, you run these problems based on how bad they might be and how likely they are to happen. For the most serious risk, you come up with a plan to prevent them. For instance, if a software malfunction could harm a patient, you might add extra safety checks in the code to catch any errors before they cause the trouble. Once you figured out the risk, you need to keep track of them. That's where the risk management file, or RMF, comes in. This is a document where you list every risk, explain what you've done to reduce it, and include proof that your fixes actually work. It's like basically a journal for your device safety. And because things can change as you improve your device, this document also should be updated from time to time. Now let's talk about meeting the rules or compliance. If your device touches the human body, like a skin patch, you'll need to do biocompatibility testing to make sure all the materials are safe. So there is a standard for this testing. It's called ISO 10993. If your device uses electricity, like a heart monitor or a pump, it has to meet another standard, 6061, to prove it won't cause any electrical shocks or any malfunction. And if there is software in your device, it needs to follow IEC 62304 rules to show that it built safely. Unfortunately, those tests aren't optional. They're required for getting your device approved by regulators, or fortunately. Finally, make a risk management a regular part of your process. Just set up times to review the risk you've identified before and see if anything new came up as you change your design, your device. This will help you to catch problems early and keep your device safe as it evolves. Think about this stage as a safety check for both your product and your reputation. By staying on top of risk management, you're not just meeting requirements, you're building a better, safer device for people who need it. Now let's talk about manufacturing your device, which is all about turning your design into a real product that people can use. First step is finding the right partner to help you make it. You want a manufacturer who has experience with specifically medical devices because they're very different from other products. So when you look for a subcontractor, look for a company that has something called, again, the same ISO 13485 certification. This is a special quality standard, as I mentioned before, for making medical devices and show that the company knows how to meet all the strict rules. And please don't just pick a manufacturer based on what they say in their brochures or on their website. Ideally, you go and visit them in person. Check if their factory is clean, if it's organized. Do they have right machines to build your device? Have they built something similar before? Are their workers skilled? Are they careful? Taking time to do this will help you to avoid big problems later. Most common problems are delays or poor quality of the products. Next, you need to focus on something called Design for Manufacturability, or DFM. This means that you have to make your device as simple and as easy to produce as possible. For example, if your design has a lot of tiny parts, it might be hard to assemble and also it might be really expensive to make. So at this point, you want to look for ways to simplify it, like reduce the numbers of details of screws or pieces if you can. You can use tools like design failure mode and effect analysis. It helps you to find weak spots in your design and then fix them before production starts. This step ideally helps you to balance having a high quality device with keeping manufacturing practical and affordable. Once you're ready to start making the device, you need to test the production process. There are 3 key steps for this: installation qualification, operational qualification, and performance qualification. Now, these are fancy ways of saying you need to test if machines are set up correctly, IQ, if machines work the way they're supposed to, OQ, and if the final products meet your standards every time, PQ. During this stage, use something called statistical process control to track how well the production is going. It helps you spot any problems early, like if a machine is making mistakes or a batch doesn't meet quality standards, so you can figure out right away. And one last tip, talk to your manufacturer about minimum order quantities, or MOQs. So these are the smallest number of devices you're required to order at a time. And many manufacturers, again, just from my practice, maybe you'll be lucky, but most of them want you to order a lot to make it worth, their time. But if you're just starting out or you're just testing the market, you might not need that many. So at the beginning, be super clear about what you can afford at the moment and find a partner who's willing to work with you as you grow. Manufacturing is a big step and it takes careful planning, but if you follow this tip, you'll set yourself up for success and create a device that's ready for the world. Let's talk about another scary thing, which is clinical trials. These are tests you run to prove that your device is safe and does what it's supposed to do. So clinical trials are really important because they're usually required by governments and regulators before your device can be sold. For example, if we are talking about the US market, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, needs to see the results of your trials to approve your device. If we're talking about Europe, regulators also need this data to give you a CE mark, which means your device is safe to use there. So now let's figure out who needs these trials. Well, basically anyone creating a medical device that affects people's health. Anyone needs them. If your device is something simple like a thermometer, you might not need a full trial though. But if it's something complex like a pacemaker or a device that's implanted in the body, you absolutely do. Now, what exactly are clinical trials? They're basically planned tests that involve real people like patients or healthy volunteers. And the goal is to see how your device works in real world conditions. Does it in fact do its job? Is it safe? Are there any side effects? So these are kind of questions trials answer. Okay, here's how to make a clinical trial happen. First, you need to find trial sites. These are places like hospitals, research centers, clinics that have experience running these kind of tests. You may want to be sure that they are reputable and have the right setup to test your specific device. For example, if your device is for heart surgery, you'll need a site that specializes in this kind of care. You will also work with investigators. These are the doctors and scientists who run the trial. Now, building strong relationship with them is a key because their support and expertise can help your trial succeed. Next step, you need to recruit participants. These are the people who will use or be treated with your device during the trial. To find the right participants, you'll create something called inclusion and exclusion criteria. So, for example, if your device is something for people with diabetes, you'll include participants who have diabetes and exclude people who don't. Now, recruiting enough participants can take time, so it's really important to plan carefully. During the trial, you'll monitor everything closely. This means setting up systems to collect and review data in real time. If something goes wrong, like a participant has a side effect, you need to fix the issue immediately and record what happened. Keeping on top of this can save you weeks or even months later. From what I've seen in the industry, typically the entire process takes a year or two. And once the trial is complete, you'll put together a report with all your results. This is part of the documents you send to regulators to get approval. Now, in the United States, you might file a 510(k) for simpler devices, or a pre-market approval for more complex ones. In Europe, you'd create something called a technical file or design dossier. These documents include everything about your device: how it was made, how the trials went, what risk it might have. Regulators need these details to decide if your device can go to market. Finally, stay in close contact with the regulators, because they might have questions or need some extra information. Here, there's a key to respond quickly and clearly. This also shows that you're serious about your safety, about your quality, and it will help you to build trust. One more thing, clinical trials can be expensive and take time, so plan ahead. Find someone who's done this before, find this expert, and make sure you have enough funding to complete the process. Because here, you're not doing business at this stage, you're doing a research, and it's a big effort, but it's worth it to bring a safe, effective device to the people who need it the most. Now let's talk about fun part. How to get your device into the world and make it successful. And this is where all your hard work starts paying off. First, you need a solid plan for who you're selling to. Ideally, you figured it out on the step 1 and how you're going to reach them. So think about your audience. Are you selling to hospitals? If yes, then how? Are you selling to clinics? If yes, then how? Or are you selling directly to patients? And once you know, figure out why they should care about your device. What makes it special? What makes it better than what they're already using? Does it help people feel better faster? Does it have doctors to save time or save money? And write these ideas down so you can explain them clearly. Next, you'll need to create things that help people understand your device. This can be one-pagers, short videos, or sometimes presentation that show how it works, depending on whom you're selling to. And imagine trying to teach someone about a cool gadget you invented. You'd want to make it simple and interesting, right? Don't make it too complicated. Now let's talk about who pays for the device. Because, well, if no one is paying for it, people won't use it. Typically, for medical devices, insurance companies cover the cost. Now, to make sure that happens, you need to work with them. You need to find someone inside the insurance company and set up a pilot, or at least understand how to get something called a CPT code. If there isn't already a code for your device or device similar to yours, You might need to convince them to create one. And here's a tip: show them how your device saved their money. For example, if your device helps patients to heal faster, it might reduce hospital bills. That's a big deal. Then you calculate how much you would save for insurance company, and then you understand how much you can bill for the device. And before you officially launch, test everything. Let real doctors, real nurses, real patients try your device in a practice setting, because this, once again, help you to find and fix any problems. You can also do like a soft launch pilot where only a few people use it at first, and this will give you a chance to make a last minute change before showing the device to everyone. Finally, build so-called customer advice board. So get some big names on your site. Can be, again, key opinion leaders, experts that everyone trusts in the medical world, because if they say your device is great, more people will listen. Work with them early, ask for their feedback, and involve them in testing, because once again, their support can make a huge difference. Now, once your device is on the market, your job is not done. You need to make sure it works well for everyone who uses the device. You need to be sure that you can fix any issue and even think about how to make it better in the future. Because if this device will succeed, you may want to build a version 2. Now you need to check how your device is performing in real life. Think of it like keeping an eye on how your phone works after you buy it. So here you collect information from doctors, you still collect information from patients, hospitals, to see if anything is going wrong or can be improved. Now, what might be helpful at this point, you can use something called a UDI system, which is like a unique barcode for each device. So it helps you to track where every device is and if there are any problems with it. And next, once again, you'll want to listen to feedback. So if people tell you that something about your device isn't working well, maybe button is hard to press, or it's too big to use easily, or interface is not clear, you can use this feedback to make changes. Imagine someone telling you your app is too slow and then you fix it to make it faster. That's basically it. That's what you're doing here, but with a medical device instead. And yeah, please don't forget, every time you make a change, you need to check that it's safe and still works as it should, and document all the changes, obviously. Now think about the future. The information you collect might give you ideas for a new version of your device. Maybe it can be smaller, maybe it can be smarter, maybe it can be cheaper or more efficient to make. So this is your chance to use what you've learned to create something even better for the next version. And finally, always keep up with the rules. The laws and guidelines for medical device change over time, and it's super important to stay updated. Because if you don't, you could run into big problems later. Staying informed helps you avoid surprises and keep your device safe and approved for use. So build a habit to check, are there any updates for your market every once in a while. Remember, even after your device is out there, you're still learning and improving. That's how you make it the best can be. Bringing a medical device to market isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes a lot of learning along the way. According to FDA, it takes 7 years from idea to the market for medical devices. But if you follow these steps and use the tips I've shared, you'll be setting yourself for success. Remember, making a device that helps people, it's all about being patient, being creative, and working well with others. So, are you ready to take the first step? If you found this helpful, make sure to like this video, follow me for more tips, and drop a comment below. I would be very happy to hear your thoughts or answer any questions you have. And together we can make something that will change people's lives. I think it's pretty ambitious. Okay, my name is Lisa Varankova and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.